It's Nathaniel Avila reporting from Dallas, and I'm here with headband Jessica Vega reporting from San Antonio. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Tired, but good.
Yeah. And
hmm
we're happy to report that Trump is no more. What?
yes. Whew, we were so happy.
Yeah.
Texting, calling each other. It's been a long 4 years of just it just really felt like he set us back
Oh, yeah.
decades, of us trying to progress and get with, because times change, people change. You can't stay stuck in and the you have to grow with that. And it just felt like he set us back so many years. Like we were back in segregation. That's what it felt like. It may
He.
not have been that bad, but it did feel that way for some people.
Hmm. Oh, yeah. Um, and talk about election night, more like election week.
For sure. I mean, honestly, I did pay attention the last time because it was Trump and Clinton. So I did pay attention, and it was kind of like a comedy show because you're watching this like he's not gonna win. This has got to be some joke. Like it for me, it was like Back to the Future Part Two, where he goes into the alternate 1986 because old Biff took the almanac back to young Biff, so it
Mm.
changed the future, and they went. He went to that new 1986, and it was Biff was the guy in charge of everything and this millionaire, and he's just an asshole guy in charge of everything, and it's just like it felt like that
I think, I
when
think
he
that version. I
won,
think that version of Biff was modeled after Trump. If it, I don't know
right?
for sure, but
it
I think it
it looked
is.
like it.
But also, if he does have an almanac and he does bet on sports that he knows he's gonna win, wouldn't like after he make that first bet, wouldn't everything change right after that, making all the other scores in that almanac moot?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I
Then
don't know.
okay, well we're not here to to discuss
We're
the
not here to
the
dissect the movie, but it
technicalities
makes
of
sense. It's
Back to the Future.
it's like they only hit a certain part of the butterfly effect, but if it affects one thing, it's gonna affect everything else.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and I doubt that our podcast had anything to do with anything, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that we did take our time to do our Trump miniseries to discuss all the terrible things that he did, or that was inspired from him, and we were able to do what we could with what we got. Am I right?
Yep. Yep. 100%.
And I'm just glad that we don't have to talk about him anymore. We're done.
Well, I don't know. We might talk about him because he is being a big baby as usual.
Well,
The little balloon that they had over there in the UK, and it's crazy the amount of love we're getting from other countries, like because we were the laughing stock for the last 4 years,
hmm. Oh yeah,
and
Notre
then
Dame was like ringing their bells in Paris, and London was throwing fireworks.
yeah, and all the cities boarded up their downtown areas expecting riots. And I think there may have been like a little bit of rioting, but not here in San Antonio.
Hmm.
Everybody was celebrating here, and I think that's the way it was over there too. We
And
didn't
yeah,
have any negative backlash. We were happy and proud and just like a relief. Everybody could breathe now.
and everybody and people were dancing in the streets of New York City, um, which is where Trump is from. Which wow, you must really terrible if your home city is celebrating your loss.
Yep.
And as soon as 2021 comes around, he's just going to be another guy saying and yelling whatever saying whatever conspiracy theory he wants, and no one's gonna care.
But what's crazy is like you see all of the comments from the Republicans, like the Trump supporters or whatever, and they are 100% behind him in his quest of we cheated, the Democrats cheated, everybody cheated. It's all BS. It's like, oh my god, this guy and these people like sheep, dude. Like,
yeah,
I don't get it.
And they claim to love America, even though they're insulting the very fabric of our democracy by saying these unthings that don't have any basis, and that's what happens. It's what happens. That's what makes America America. We have a person, and we have an election, and we have a peaceful transfer of power. That's how it works. And I think Trump, he really wanted to be a dictator. I know that's
trying.
Yeah.
He was really trying. That's what he's doing now.
Yeah, but we didn't. It's not gonna work. That's why. Yeah.
That's why we have a democracy, and that's why we have processes. And so, yes, he's gonna get what he wants. He's gonna get the recounts. But I'm sorry, 5 million up. Like, I don't know. Even if it changes a little bit, like.
If it does, it's probably gonna be by a couple hundred. It's gonna be like a drop in a bucket. It's not gonna change anything. But it's not like a couple thousand people accidentally voted for a third-party candidate in Florida when they meant to vote for a Democratic candidate. You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. And that didn't work. So if that didn't work, then whatever he's trying to pull isn't going to work.
Piece of work. I saw this video clip, and I was going to send it to you. It was on TikTok, and it was Hillary Clinton saying exactly what he's doing now in the middle of a debate that they had when she was running with him, against him, saying that it's anytime he doesn't get his way, it's always because somebody's done something wrong to get their way, and he's going to sue them, and he's going to sue this, and it's always like that with him. And that's what's happening now.
That's exactly what is happening now. I'm just glad that we got a person who is normal. He's not super extravagant. He's no Obama. But I think that's what we need right now. We need somebody who can bring the government back to a state of normalcy. And I have been watching I have been rereading A Warning by Anonymous, which was about the Trump administration up until the impeachment trials in 2019, which was written by an anonymous Trump staffer. So at the time, he did not put in his name on the book, but I've been rereading it as like a reflection of what has been happening, what's been transpiring over the past 4 years. He did come out, though. He did reveal himself. Let me look up what his name is. That's why I'm saying he and not like he or she, because it could have been a woman. But it is a guy, so that's why I know. Let me check real quick.
Okay.
Who is... I forgot his name, but Miles Taylor. That's who it was.
Oh, okay.
It was Miles Taylor. He was the chief of staff for the Homeland Security secretary. He's not anymore, but that's who it was. So I've been rereading that and that kind of thing. I was going to watch the documentary on Hulu called Totally Under Control, which was about the Trump's response to the coronavirus. I watched a little bit of that, and so it's just me reflecting over what's been going on in the past couple of years. I'm going to try to read Rage. I want to read Other Room Where It Happened. I'm going to read Unhinged, all those different books about the Trump administration. So that kind of thing. But
Do it.
yeah, but I'm
Sounds
just glad that
interesting.
we just never have to talk about him again.
Yeah.
We're
And like this even like brought people out to vote that have never voted before,
mm-hmm.
people that never cared about talk about politics to start talking about politics. Like my boyfriend, he doesn't care about any of that stuff. He's never cared about any of that stuff before, and this time around he was very vocal in his stance um, to vote for Biden.
Mm-hmm.
I told him, gotta do it. My mother, on the other hand, that is a whole other kind of worms.
Do you want to talk about it when we're off air?
There's not a whole lot to say besides she's a Christian, so that tells you which way they went.
There's plenty of Christians that don't like Trump.
Most Christians, yeah,
But
hopefully. But another thing
mm-hmm.
is Kamala Harris.
Oh yeah,
We have our first female vice
first
president. This
a
is
bunch of firsts.
history in the making.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you ask little girls what they want to be when they grow up, and a lot of them do say president, but it's never happened. Now we have vice president.
Vice president, yeah, Madam
Vice
Madam
president.
Vice President this time.
Yes.
So she is the first woman biracial vice president ever, and she will not be the last.
Nope.
Mm-hmm. Jessica,
Opening
are you
doors.
gonna run?
Kicking doors down.
Are you good? You gonna run in 2024?
Heck no.
But yeah, that is the last time we're gonna talk about Trump. That's it. We're done. We're never talking about him again. We might cover him again in a future episode, but we're not for a while. We need a break on them. So let's talk about the unsolved murders. Excuse me.
Because our podcast is a true crime podcast.
Oh yeah, this is not a political podcast, even though
it really isn't.
It turns into one sometimes.
Well, I mean, it was Nathaniel's idea, and I thought it was a great idea to have a little mini series on the Trump administration before the election. Why not? I don't know if anybody listens to this podcast, but hey, if somebody does, then they get to hear what people aren't saying.
I get to see. Let me see what our audience size is. 1 second. What?
I don't know if I want to know.
I can look it up. 19. We have 19 listeners.
Oh, mira.
Hi, 19 of you guys.
Hey.
So yeah, I mean, so we're gonna talk about unsolved mysteries. I am glad that we Okay, we're gonna do unsolved mysteries, and not unsolved mysteries. That's a show, which season 2 is out.
Which
on
is
Netflix.
A good show.
Season 2 is out, the new one.
Oh yeah, I've already finished it.
Me too. So we're gonna talk about unsolved not mysteries again, murders. So today I'm gonna start us off with the story of Jean-Marie Leclerc.
How far back are you going?
Let's see. Jean-Marie Leclerc, aka Jean. What?
18 what?
I said Jean-Marie Leclerc. I didn't say the year yet. What were you saying?
What is it?
No, what did you say before?
What? No, what's the? I was on 1687.
No.
Because you go far back.
No, I don't.
Sometimes.
So, Marie murder isn't like a new thing. It has a lot of stuff. Jean-Marie Leclerc, aka Jean-Marie Leclerc the Elder, was a Baroque violinist and composer. Okay? Got that? So, Leclerc was born in Lyon, but left to study dance and the violin in Turin in 1716. Okay, 1716. That is. What? What's so
It's
funny?
so far back.
Murder isn't a new concept. It happens. It happened all throughout human history.
Mm,
So
carry on, sir. Carry on.
he married Marie Rose Cas- Castanet, a dancer who died at about 1728. Leclerc, who had returned to Paris in 1723, where he played at the Concert Spiritual, the main semi public music series. His works included several sonatas for flute and basso continuo. In 1730, Leclerc married for the second time. His new wife was the engraver Louise Roussel, who prepared for printing all his works from Opus 2 onward. Named Ordinaire, le, Ordinaire de la Musique by Louis XV in
That was very good.
1733. What?
That was very good.
Thank you. I did not take French in high school.
I did, and I know nothing.
Good.
Je m'appelle Jessica.
Okay. Leclerc resigned in 1737 after a clash with Guidon over the control of the Musique du Roi. Leclerc was then engaged by the Princess of Orange, a fine harpsichordist and former student of Handel. And from 1738 until 1743, served 3 months annually at her court in Louarn, working in the Hajj as private maestro de capella for the remainder of the year. He returned to Paris in 1743. His only opera, Scylla et Clacu, was first performed in 1746 and has been revived in modern times. From 1740 until his death in Paris, he served the Duke of Gramont, in whose private theater, Poutou, were staged works to which Leclerc is known to have contributed. They included, in particular, a lengthy divertissement for the comedy Les Dangers des Éprouves, and one complete entrée, Paulin et Clomine, for the opera ballet by various authors, Les Amusements Lyriques. Leclerc was renowned as a violinist and as a composer. He successfully drew upon all of Europe's national styles, many suites, sonatas, and concertos to survive along with his opera, while some vocal corps, ballets, and other stage music were lost. So, now let's talk about his murder. In 1758, after the breakup of his second marriage, Leclerc purchased a small house in a dangerous Parisian neighborhood in the northern part of Les Marais, near the Old Temple, where he was found stabbed to death on October 23rd, 1764. Although the murder remains a mystery, there's a possibility that his ex-wife may have been behind it. Her motive being financial gain, although the strongest suspicion rests on his nephew, Guillaume Francois Vial, thus ending the story of Jean-Marie Leclerc.
I wonder why they suspected the nephew.
Why they suspected the nephew?
Yeah.
I don't know. Guess we never did. What do you think?
Well, I mean, shit. That was super short. But he was found stabbed to death. Murder is a mystery. And they think it was either the ex-wife for financial gain or the nephew.
Yeah.
But it's never, ever going to be solved. All these people are long dead in the dust.
It was like in mid 18th century. It was the 1750s.
Yeah.
So let's conclude this thing with one of Leclerc's music, so you can see here what type of music he was into. So
Okay.
here is Sonata Opus 2 Number 3 in C major, performed by the New Comma Baroque. Yep, that's a little taste.
It's really nice.
Really nice.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep,
Poor dude.
and then he died. He was
How old
sad.
was he? Did it say?
He might have been. I
67?
think he was in his 40s.
It said he died in age of 67.
He died when he was 67. So yeah,
Yeah.
he was still pretty young-ish. Still got a lot of life left in him when you're 67. But I don't know what the life expectancy was in 1750s France.
Very true. Very true.
So yep, that's mine. What do you got?
So my story, my stories, I try to keep them local. So this is an unsolved murder that has been going on for this year was actually the 30-year anniversary of this happening. So this happened in August of 1990. It's actually the disappearance of two girls.
Yeah.
But for some reason, one of the first girl is the one that people know of. Her name is Heidi Seaman, the disappearance of Heidi Seaman. So let me just read what I have. Okay. August 1990 was the month that sent the Alamo City into a tailspin. During that month, in the thick of South Texas heat, because it gets really hot here, thousands showed up to search for two little girls who disappeared. So the bodies of 11-year-old Heidi Seaman and 7-year-old Erica Boteo were both found later that month, a day apart, at the San Antonio community, and the San Antonio community would never be the same. The girls' killers have never, to this day, have been brought to justice. So, the disappearance of Heidi Seaman. She loved life, she loved her friends, and she was just a pure joy. That's how her mother describes her youngest daughter. The 11-year-old girl, who is known for her sweet, talkative nature, disappeared while on her way home from a sleepover on the morning of August 4th, 1990. The Seamans were working in the garden outside of their house when they noticed at 12:30 p.m. that Heidi wasn't home yet. She had been due back by noon. She wasn't the kind to just be late without letting anybody know. And so they just kind of freaked out when she didn't show up. So we knew something was wrong right away. So after calling over and over to the friend's house, the fears had been confirmed that the daughter had left an hour earlier. And what followed was everybody going into a frantic to look for her.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I'm correct, usually they wanted you to wait. But I think that's when kids are older, a little bit older. Police officers arrived, neighbors sprung into action, and the Seamans drove around their northeast side neighborhood looking for Heidi. During their preliminary investigations, officers learned that Heidi's friend walked with Heidi halfway to the halfway point between the girls' houses. So while returning home, the friend looked back to check on Heidi and noticed that she was no longer there. The friend also later recalled a red car slowing down and looking at the girls. That's when the police really started getting involved. Teresa Seaman said, that's the mom.
Yeah.
So, a little bit of statistic. According to the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, 163 children went missing in Texas in 1990. Yeesh. So I guess they're trying to see if there's a pattern here. What happened to Heidi and Erica was extremely rare 30 years ago, but is even more rare today. That this is due to the capabilities of the law enforcement. The response, that community engagement has really made a difference. So that's what the former vice president of the Missing Children Division had to say. Despite Heidi's disappearance happening in 1996, before the 1996 creation of the Amber Alert system, so that's what I was talking about. Right. The Amber Alert system came out. That's when they could notify people. The San Antonio committee was quick to provide help to the Siemens right away. San Antonio-based grocery chain H-E-B offered $5,000 award for any information on Heidi's disappearance. The Spurs players David Robinson and Willie Anderson offered their support and their assistance. Whatever they asked me to do, I'm willing to help in any way, said Robinson.
Oh, no.
San Antonio Mayor Lila Cockrell even declared August 11th, 1990 to be Find Heidi Day and encouraged residents to help and search for the young girl. Caroline Stanley, a volunteer the same age as Heidi, told the news, this is Kins 5, at the time why she decided to take part in the search. I know my parents would be real worried if they lost me, and I was real concerned, so I wanted to help. Kins 5 anchor reported, who both, her and Stu Kalberg, both covered Heidi and Erica's cases, explained why they think so many people showed up to help in their searches. They said, I just think we all could see our children in those two little girls. And yeah, it's crazy. Both of those were just sweet, innocent children who were outside. Erica was in her front yard when she disappeared. Heidi was walking home from an overnight sleepover. I just think we could all see our children in those two little girls. It's like those little things you feel like you could just let your kids do without having to watch them. But it's crazy. And this was 1996. Okay. What do you think so far?
Very interesting. Let's see where it goes.
Interesting.
So let's see where it goes.
So Kalberg shared the common sentiment of parents of young children at that time. It happened in the blink of an eye. And I think that's why it scared us so badly, because everybody felt like that could be me. 30 years later, Curtis Seaman shared with Kins 5 how appreciative he and his wife were, all for the help they received during their search for Heidi. I know at one point they said that there was over 300,000 people searching in one day. It's pretty cool. It's a lot.
It's a lot of people,
I can never comprehend that, but I sure appreciate it. I'm just sorry it turned out the way it did. The absolute terror that does not get better with time. It does not lessen. It does not go away. During this time would later be known as the Heidi Search Center was created. The center offered assistance, resources, and emotional support to families with missing children and adults. The center closed in 2018 due to lack of funding. Aw, somebody needs to put some funding back in there. In December 2019, former Center Director Dottie Loster spoke about the importance of the Heidi Search Center. I don't think the public understands until you don't know where your child is or your loved ones are, the absolute terror that does not get better. It was a terror that the Siemens knew all too well, and 21 days into the search for Heidi, it was the terror another San Antonio family would understand.
Right.
So now we're going to talk about the disappearance of Erica Boteo. This is the second little girl. On August 23rd, 1990, Erica Boteo, 7 years old, was kidnapped from the West End Baptist Manor apartments. Like Heidi, Erica was outside at the time of her disappearance. The Boteos declined to be interviewed for this story. Probably still hurts. Like, no matter how much time goes by, I don't think you could ever lessen the pain from that.
Right.
The Siemens shared their shock at hearing about the disappearance of another young girl. We couldn't believe that another child was missing, and she was even younger and smaller than Heidi. And when they came to us and they said another child was missing, we were devastated for that family. Search efforts for Erica began immediately, with the Siemens sharing all of their resources and support with their family. At the time, Curtis Seaman said, I feel like I can help a little bit. I want to. I know what this family is going through, and I want to help them get through it if I can. As local coverage of the searches of the girls continued, a family member of Boteo's pleaded with whoever had the young girl to bring her back. We wonder what she's doing. We wonder if she slept. We wonder of all the things, and we want her home. And whoever has her, please bring her home. Normally a place where kids could run wild and free, San Antonio was on high alert, and parents were keeping their children close. It wasn't just two little girls that were lost. As a community, to some degree, I think we lost a sense of innocence. I had small children at the time, and you didn't just want them to be out by themselves, recalled. We had a stranger danger. It's a rare thing that a stranger kidnaps a child, but here we had it, and it was two children whose searches could soon come to an end. On August 26, 1990, 3 days after she had disappeared, the body of Erica Boteo was found in a storm drain yards away from her house. Joseph Blansky, an 18-year-old airman completing basic military training at Lackland Air Force Base, would be the one to find her. I remember screaming. I screamed at the top of my lungs, and I tried to backtrack my way out of the tunnels as fast as I knew how. What's his name? Jablensky?
Jablensky.
That's what he said. And then he also said, what I saw was wrong. What I saw needed to be fixed, and somebody needed to be brought to justice because of that. This is a child, even more so because it's a child. It's a hard thing to carry. The following day, it was confirmed that a body found in the field in Wimberley one day before the discovery of Erica's body was that of young Heidi Seaman. Funeral services for both girls were held on the same day. Mm-hmm. At the time, San Antonio City Councilman Jimmy Haslacher said, "This is one of the most tragic days I can ever remember in this city. As we say goodbye to two precious little girls, it's very, very difficult." So, this is the investigation. During the girls' separate murder investigations, several people were considered as suspects, but no one was ever convicted in either crime. In Heidi's case, the Air Force Office of Special Investigations zeroed in on Major Eric Duncan, an early leader in the search efforts for Heidi and former supervisor of Heidi's father, Curtis Seaman. According to the Air Force affidavit filed in the case, obtained by the news source, Duncan's car matched the description of the car Heidi's friend had seen prior to Heidi's disappearance. Duncan's disappearance also reportedly fit the description of the driver of that car. Curtis Seaman supported initiating the charges against Duncan through the military judicial system. The one suspect that they did have from the Air Force, OSI, it looked like the case they had against him was fairly strong, but the SAPD didn't believe that. I'm not sure exactly why, but what they showed us as far as a witness rights briefing, I don't know what it did either, but I can't say that for sure, but it sure did seem like it. That's her dad. Mm-hmm. Talking. While charges were preferred or initiated against Duncan through the military judicial system, the charges were dropped following Article 32 hearing. So, in the military justice system, an Article 32 hearing is similar to a pretrial preliminary hearing in a civilian law. At an Article 32 hearing, a hearing officer appointed by the convening authority will listen to the evidence presented by the prosecution to determine whether there's enough evidence to recommend that the case go to trial. So it looks like there wasn't enough evidence to prosecute, so they said, nah. Earlier this year, Duncan's lawyer at the time criminal defense attorney Gary Goldstein explained why he believes investigators looked at Duncan. If you recall, he is very active in the search for the young victim. And sometimes, whether it's justified or not, the investigators, and this happens to the civilian world as just as much as in the military, that makes you the target, he said. And I mean, this was a terrible case. It tore heartstrings of our community. And this is his personal opinion, that Eric Duncan's biggest crime was being so actively involved in trying to find her. I don't know.
You think he did it?
I don't know if he did it, but he's suspect.
he's sus.
He's
acting sus. You ever played that game? It's all the rage now.
Yeah, I would play it with the kids. I have it on my phone.
Ocasio-Cortez played it recently.
Yeah, we play it.
Marry me, Ocasio-Cortez. I love you. I'm kidding.
Okay, back to the story.
Yeah, okay.
Excuse me. Meanwhile, SAPD investigators had a target of their own, Jerry Lee Neighbor. But his name was cleared when DNA test results came back negative. In Erica's case, several arrests were made. 31-year-old Kenneth Earl Pope, 32-year-old Sherman Bedford, and 17-year-old Roderick Springs. But according to the San Antonio Police Department, 2 of the 3 suspects charged in Erica's murder were no-billed by a grand jury. While the case against the 3rd suspect was dismissed after a confession was ruled inadmissible because of the deficient mental state of the defendant, when contacted for comment, a department spokesperson denied our request for an interview, stating, "I was advised by the homicide sergeant that the family does not wish to bring light to the case and have asked that we not discuss the case with the media. We are granting the family's wishes and not providing this interview." In a separate statement, the department spokesperson said there is no other information or evidence to indicate that anyone other than the listed suspects were involved in this crime. The case is considered closed by arrest. Bexar County District Attorney Joe Gonzalez offered the following statement. In 1990, a Bexar County grand jury declined to indirect 2 people for a charge of capital murder. The capital murder charge against the 3rd suspect was dismissed in 1991 for insufficient evidence because there is no statute of limitations for the offense of the capital murder. Should the investigating agency obtain new evidence and file a case with the new office for review, we could present it to a grand jury for a possible indictment. As for Heidi, her case is now in the hands of the Texas Rangers. Ranger Trampus Gooding, who became the lead investigator in Heidi's case back in 2007, said in a statement, he is fighting to make this case the one that he sees results. Mm-hmm. The Stevens share their thoughts on the lack of justice for both Heidi and Erica. It's heartbreaking, not only because they weren't brought to justice for the girls, but also we don't know that they're not doing it again.
Okay.
That's part of it. We wanted them in jail for Heidi's death, for Erica's death, but also so that they didn't take another child's life. We don't want other families to go through this ever. It's not just something that any family should ever go through or suffer. It's just disappointing. Mm-hmm. So, while their daughter's killer have never been brought to justice, they have hope. They haven't given up hope. So rather than focus on their daughter's deaths, the Stevens chose to celebrate the girls' lives, all the good that came out of Heidi Search Centers prior to its closing in 2018. We have statistics that we kept over 27 years, and so out of around 4,000 cases, 98% were located, 94% located alive. That's pretty good statistics there.
Yeah.
The Stevens said their daughter's biggest legacy is all the love and caring that carried on through her. I think she would be very proud of all the work the Heidi Search Center did. I think she would be happy with that. And I think that would make her smile. And, knowing now that she helped all those people take care of people and things. So they said that she saw the good, and I think that helps us see the good. I think it helps others see people. Other people see the good. And that's about it on this. But yeah, this is a case that I've been hearing about for a long time. And it's crazy to me how they have yet to find a suspect in this case.
Have they made any arrests?
No. The only one they did was for Erica Boteo, but that has nothing to do for... It has nothing to do with Heidi's case.
Right. So they got they made one arrest for one of them, but none on the other, and even that arrest is not 100% solved in that.
Yeah. Area. Right.
Do you think this is in the 1990s? Right. So do you think that this will ever be solved?
Man, I really hope so. It's just weird to me that with the technology that we have now, that this person hasn't slipped up anywhere else. And I don't know how often they put that DNA in the coded system or whatever other systems they have now to catch a match. But people that do stuff like this don't just do it once. They reoffend. And it's just mind-boggling to me that nobody's been caught in this case.
Yeah, so do you think this person reoffended? Because it's been 30 years.
I definitely think they have reoffended. Probably not here. Probably somewhere else. They up and left.
Because everyone was looking for him?
Everybody was looking for him, like, right then and there. And it's crazy that he waited 21 days to dump her body somewhere. Either he waited or they didn't find her till then. And she was there for this whole time. And then the other little girl was found, like, the next day. I don't know. It's crazy, this story.
What would you do if it was you?
I'd be losing my mind. I would be losing my freaking mind.
Would you look 100 million times?
Yeah.
What if the police was like, we think you did it?
Plug me up, man.
Lie detectors. Insane. Lie detector tests do put in false positives.
I have nothing.
They're very unreliable.
But I don't know how else just to prove myself.
Yeah, but that's the thing. A lot of law enforcement use lie detectors as as fact. They use it to, like, it's not admissible in court. That's how unreliable it is. But police officers or law enforcement have used lie detector tests in order to get a confession out of someone. So.
Yeah, that's what they did with the old Chris Watts. Fucking bastard.
Oh, snap.
You know that guy, right?
No.
Oh my God, people listening. I know you just went like, what? That's a whole other...
No, everyone else is like, oh, you can't expect him to know everything.
Oh my God, but this is such a... Oof, this case. Basically, in a nutshell, without getting all the way into it, the husband was having an affair, right? And he was trying to separate from his wife and everything. I don't know what happened. There's people say that it's because he was using these Thrive patches.
Oh wait, I do know what this guy is. I have watched the documentary on Netflix.
Okay, good. So yes, he does know. We could breathe a sigh of relief. He did know what we were talking about.
He did know. I watched American Murder.
And it left out a lot. It really did leave out a lot. But they had a lot of footage that I've never seen before, too.
Yeah, he killed his wife and then he killed his children. And
Yep.
dumped him in some kind of silo. But yeah, that one was solved.
He can't admit that he killed his wife. Well, he can admit that he killed his wife, but he can't admit that. Okay, so what he said was she was attacking the kids. She was trying to kill the kids, and so he went and he killed her. But the way she was found was she was suffocated first, and then he shot her because she was found face down in the bed, like she was asleep.
Mm-hmm.
So if she was doing all that, like...
Yeah, but that's a story for another day.
Oh, yeah.
We're still doing unsolved. We're doing unsolved murders. That was a solved murder.
Do you have anything else?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I got stories up my butt. So let me tell you the story of Juan Prim.
Okay.
So Juan Prim y Prats was the first Count of Raus, the first Marquis of Los Constellejos, the first Viscount of Bruch, and he was a Spanish general and statesman who was briefly the Prime Minister of Spain until his assassination. Ooh. So, Prim was the son of Lieutenant Colonel Pablo Prim, and he entered the Free Corps known as the Volunteers of Isabella II in 1834. And in the course of the first Carlist War, he rose to the rank of lieutenant colonel and had 2 orders of knighthood conferred upon him after the pacification of 1839 as a progressist opposed to the dictatorship of General Espartero. He was sent into exile. However, in 1843, he was elected deputy for Tarragona. And after defeating Espartero at Bruch, he entered Madrid in triumph with General Serrano. The regent, Maria Cristina, promoted him Major General and made him Count of Rus and the Viscount of Bruch. Colonel Narvaez, the Prime Minister, failed to understand what constitutional freedom meant, and General Prim, on showing signs of opposition, was sentenced to 6 years of imprisonment in the Philippine Islands. The sentence was not carried out, and Prim remained in exile in England and France until the amnesty of 1847. He then returned to Spain and was first employed as Captain General of Puerto Rico, and afterwards as military representative with the Sultan during the Crimean War. In 1854, he was elected to the Cortes, and gave his support to General O'Donnell, who promoted him to Lieutenant General in 1856. In the war with Morocco, he did such good service at Castillejos, Cabo Negro, Guad Alguelo, and Campamento in 1860 that he was made Marquis of Castillejos and Grandee of Spain. Prim commanded the Spanish Expeditionary Army in Mexico in 1864, when Spain, Great Britain, and France sought forced payment from the liberal government of Benito Juarez for loans. Prim was a sympathizer with the Mexican liberal cause. Thus, he refused to consent to the ambitious schemes of French Emperor Napoleon III, and withdrew Spanish forces following the meeting with Manuel Doblado. In Prim's return to Spain, he joined the opposition, heading pronunciamientos in Catalonia against Generals Narvaez and O'Donnell. All his attempts failed until the death of Narvaez in April 1868. After which, Queen Isabella became increasingly tyrannical until at last even Serrano was exiled. In September 1868, General Serrano and General Prim returned, and Brigadier Topete, commanding the fleet, raised the standard revolt at Cadiz. In July 1869, General Serrano was elected regent, and Prim became president of the council and was made a marshal. In November 6th, 1870, Amadeo, Duke of Aosta, was elected King of Spain. I didn't know that was an elected position. Did you?
No, I did not. Sorry.
I didn't know you can be elected king.
Elect me for queen.
Jessica's running as queen. I now announce my campaign as king. The democratically elected king.
Passed down thing.
That's what it usually is. It's usually a bloodline thing. But I guess you can be elected king of Spain in 1870. But Prim... Yeah.
Maybe he's like one of the first ones.
The first democratically elected king?
It didn't say democratic, it just said elected.
Elected by who? Himself?
Probably just like a room of men.
Yeah, you need one to win. It's like a broadcast, and it's just one vote to win, and it's your vote. That's how you get elected king.
Oh, keep reading.
But General Prim, on leaving the chamber of the Cortes on December 28th, was shot by unknown assassins and died 2 days later. The Cortes took his children as wards of the country 3 days after King Amadeo I swore in the presence of the corpse to observe the new Spanish Constitution. So he swore in his dead body.
Jesus. Freaking.
Well, he was trying to be respectful, kind of ish. He was trying to be diplomatic, I guess, because he was about to take office, but then he was shot. He was killed. So they were like, "We're gonna swear him in, no matter what." So he swore in his body.
Okay.
So it's a bit weird, but it comes from a nice place. So this is due to the fact that Prim had searched all the European courts of the time, trying to find a monarch who was not opposed to being democratically elected. Okay, that's a juxtaposition. He is quoted for saying that looking for a democratic monarch in Europe is like trying to find an atheist in heaven. Yeah, you don't say.
Wow.
Why would you even think of such a thing?
That's an extravagant, comparison.
Yeah,
but I mean, hey, it was that hard.
Yeah, looking for a king who wants to be like a democratically elected king.
I mean, he could have said needle on a haystack.
Yeah, probably.
But he had to go that route.
Yeah. So, after France had rejected the almost elected Leopold of Hohenzollern because of their fear that Prussia might thereby become more powerful, Amadeo Savoy was the most fitting who consented. So, the workshop of metalworker Placido Zuloaga was commissioned to make a monumental sarcophagus for Prim, completed in 1875 in Elbar. Now resides in the cemetery of Reus. So they never did find the assassins. They don't even know who did it.
Dang.
So let me show you what the sarcophagus looks like.
Sarcophagus.
Sarcophagus.
What's this right here? So we have right here. I'm just kidding.
What are you talking about?
It's a sarcophagus.
Okay, there it is.
I'm kidding. Oh.
Pretty cool, huh?
That does look cool.
There
Where's
it is.
that again? In
Huh?
Spain?
In Spain.
Let's go. Let's go to Spain.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's a drawing of the actual assassination.
Cold-blooded.
Yeah. By who is this by? I don't know. It doesn't say. Well, there's his signature right there. Oh, by Pierre Magenel. So we don't know who these two guys are. So who are they? We don't know. These two didn't do jack about
They're
it.
just like,
They're just
oh.
watching. They must be the getaway.
They're the getaway car.
They're the
That's
getaway
what they
car?
are.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
What about this guy? He's just walking by.
Yeah, he's just walking.
Just
Didn't even
chilling.
notice.
And this guy, he's like, whoa! He's got flair for the dramatic, but he's being shot. I'm talking about the paint, not the. I'm talking about the drawing, not the actual guy. And here's Amadeo the First, swearing in, or like in front of the carpet, paying his respects to Prim. This is a painting by Antonio Gisbert. So this is a nice painting. There's his dead body.
Mm-hmm.
There's all the other like statesmen of Spain paying their respects, and I'm guessing that's the church clergy. So yeah, that's the story of ouch go. That's the story of Juan Prim. What did you think?
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Yep, he was quite the character. So let's move on to another case. This will be the last case of the day. And this is the story of Mohammed Kadir.
Mohammed.
Yeah, and he was an Algerian politician. So, Mohammed Kadir was one of the original leaders of the Front de Libération Nationale, having been previously active in its nationalist predecessors, the PPA, or the what is it called? The ENA and the PPA, or the Algerian People's Party, of Maseli Haj, from 1946 to 1951. He was a member of the French National Assembly as a representative of the Movement for the Triumph of Democratic Liberties. He played an important role during the first years of the Algerian War of Independence, mainly representing the FLM externally. In 1956, he was part of a group of FLM politicians, which includes himself, Ahmed Ben Bella, Hassan Alt Ahmed, Mohammed Baldiaf, and Rabah Batat. And he was captured by the French, or by France, in an airplane hijacking. 2 years later, while incarcerated in France, he was an elected member of the GPRA exile government, holding a symbolic post of Minister of State. He was released as Algeria became independent in 1962. Good job.
Wow.
So after returning to Algeria, Kadir joined Ahmed Ben Bella and the FLM Army's Chief of Staff, Colonel Hawari Boumediene, in forming the political bureau of the FLM to replace the GPRA, over which they had no control. Boumediene's army, built up outside the war zone in Morocco and Tunisia, quashed resistance among the GPRA loyalists and guerrilla units inside Algeria as it moved in from its border area bases. Kadir then took on the role as Secretary General of the post-war party of FLM, with control over finances, but quickly fell out with President Ben Bella. Among the causes were political differences, personal rivalries, and opposition to Ben Bella's increasingly autocratic rule. Ben Bella refused Kadir's request to follow the FLM into the decision-making process and replaced him as Secretary General. So what do we think about that? You don't know?
I don't know.
Okay. So in 1963, Kadir went into exile in Switzerland, bringing $14 million of party funds with him, saying that it will be used to finance a political opposition to continue the genuine nationalist tradition of the FLN. In 1967, he was assassinated in Madrid, Spain again. So most observers blamed his death on Colonel Beaumondien, who had toppled Ben Bella 2 years earlier, and to whom Kadir had declared his continued opposition. He was posthumously rehabilitated by Beaumondien's successor, Chadli Benjedid, in 1984. Thus ending the story of Muhammad Kadir. So yeah, he was assassinated, but we don't know who it was. Who do you think it was?
I don't know.
You think it was the colonel? You don't know? I guess we'll never know.
We'll never know.
Because he's one of those guys who was trying to oppose like a dictatorship that he saw that it was actually coming and he wanted to stop it before it became too out of control. But he ended up paying the price for it. And we don't know who killed him. We don't know who pulled the trigger. We don't know who called the orders. So that's that.
It's terrible.
Yeah. So
trying to do the right thing, and then you got all the Trumpers. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, no.
Just kidding.
So yeah, that was.
I just had to.
You just had to. So that was the story of some unsolved murder cases. Which one was your favorite unsolved murder case?
I don't know if I have a favorite.
Of the ones that we discussed.
I don't know. I think the one that you did because you did 3 and you have to go all the way back before BC Christ.
No, I didn't go that far. The earliest one was like the 1756.
In 18 is too recent. In 1312.
1312. The earliest one that I have done was the disappearance of the 9th Legion.
Yeah,
which was like in the BCs.
I like the one that you just did. The one right before this last one.
Oh, the Prim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the visuals too. The artwork.
Yeah.
Those were really good.
Yeah. We had 2 of them were political people who had political affiliation. So yeah, it's like people didn't agree with him and just wanted to get rid of him by killing him. So sometimes it's just how these things go, especially during those times. I did really like yours, though. That one was really interesting.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can solve it, because sometimes people solve these things 50 years after it happened.
Yeah. It's crazy that they only had that one suspect, and then they had another suspect, but nothing ever really came of it because the DNA didn't match.
Can't argue with DNA. That's pretty solid.
Yeah. But I wonder if they were able to get DNA from the other guy, the one that they decided to do it in the military route. I don't know. They never said.
Is it still ongoing? Or did it just go cold?
It's not closed.
Oh.
I think it's considered a cold case because they can't find the killer.
Usually that's how it goes. Yeah, sometimes cases just go cold and then they reopen it due to new evidence. I know it's not closed because I think they only close cases when it's solved. But I don't know. Hopefully in the future something will come out of it.
I have one small story I want to read real quick.
Yeah.
So this is a case that's unsolved and happened here in San Antonio.
Uh-huh.
Because that's where I be from.
Okay.
So this happened in 2001. Um,
That's too recent. You got to go back. Tell me a story that's
so
from 1001, then I'll listen.
I
1001, then I'll
know,
be
I
listening.
know, I know. You're not lying either.
Okay. What happened?
The He's. That's what their last name was He. Um, the He's were at their family-owned restaurant, the Asian Garden,
Uh-huh.
at 8015 Bandera Road. Their young daughter had just returned from school and was sitting in the restaurant watching TV. May, the wife, May He, was at the cash register counter when an unknown male came to the counter, and during an apparent robbery, the guy, the robber, stabbed Mrs. He and the husband.
Okay. This is an Asian American family, it sounds like.
Yeah. I don't know how to say his name. Xiong. He apparently came to her aid, and he was also stabbed. The suspect fled with the cash from the register, so that is considered capital murder.
Okay.
He was dead at the scene, and the husband died at the hospital after being transported by EMS. These brutal murders happened in front of their daughter, and as to this day, the suspect has not been identified. Happened in April of 2001.
April of 2001.
Mm-hmm.
So
Creepy.
it sounds like it's not like nobody's seen him do. How do they know that it was a guy? That did he kill?
The little
Oh,
girl
the little
was
girl saw him.
there.
It was a
The
witness.
little girl saw him.
So did she provide
He's
like?
probably yelling.
Okay. Did she provide
Probably
a good
yelling at
enough
them.
like description of the suspect?
There isn't anything about the daughter. I don't even know how old she was. It didn't say how old she was. It just said that their young daughter had returned from school. So I really don't know what was said, what she said.
Is that
I
restaurant
just
still
don't.
around?
I honestly don't know. The Asian Garden. Let me see.
If it is, promotion. We're not sponsored by them, by the way. We have to say that.
So, double murder at Asian restaurant in 2001 remains unsolved. It's basically everything that I just stated. Nope.
What is it called?
Let's see.
China Garden?
Yeah.
San Antonio. You have the address there. China's
Yeah,
Garden.
I looked it up. It's something else now. It's not that same restaurant.
It's not. It's not open anymore. Okay.
It's something else. It's not the Asian Garden.
Is it still a Chinese restaurant, or is it kind of something completely different?
I think it's completely different.
Okay, so it's like probably under new ownership. So yeah, it's not there anymore.
Let me check really quick.
Okay, they have the address on the article.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking it up, but something's completely different. It's like one of those strip malls with different places in it.
I get it. If you have any information about the murders of Jean-Marie Leclerc, Juan Prim, please
Send a free telegram to 1868.
1868. What's so funny?
Message in a bottle.
Send a message in a bottle.
Telegram.
Send your
Telegram from the future.
telegram from the future. No one uses telegrams.
They did back then. They probably didn't even use that back then.
I don't think so either. I think they didn't have telegrams in 1756.
Snail mail.
America wasn't even around in 1756.
So there was no post office.
There was no post office.
How would they get their letters?
Carrier pigeon.
A carrier pigeon? We don't know. It makes you wonder, right? Like, how do people communicate? There's so many movies that you watch nowadays that could have just been solved with one phone call or text message.
Maybe, yeah.
If that one person just had a phone.
Have you ever seen that one commercial? I think it was a payment app, but it took place in like the 1790s or something. It was during the Jefferson administration, and it was like a scene where all these different people in the Jefferson administration were waiting on a notification from Napoleon that he sent payment for the Louisiana Purchase.
No.
And they have like a cell phone. They have a smartphone, and they got their the thing that he paid for that he sent the payment for the Louisiana Purchase. That was pretty funny. I got it mixed up. I said Napoleon paid him. I meant to say he paid Napoleon because he was the one paying it. Jefferson paid Napoleon. So I thought that was pretty funny. So yeah, those were the things for the cases.
Those were today's cases.
That was pretty interesting. It was a good time. It wasn't good about the cases, that's sad, but I do enjoy spending time with you. That's what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? Yeah, so that was today's episode, Unsolved Murders. If you have any information about mine, mostly,
send a letter to 19 throwaway. No, 18 whatever.
18 whatever.
The first one was like 16 something.
The first one was 1756. The second one was 1870.
And the third?
The third one was more recent. It was like in the 20th century. Okay. Here. It was a lot more recent. It was 1967.
Okay.
But two of them, the Kadir and Prim, were both assassinated in Madrid. So, coincidence?
Crazy people over there. I think not.
I don't know. I don't know if it's a coincidence or not.
It's the same person.
He was the same person. He lived 100 years. He lived 100
Time traveler.
Okay. You see those photos like, oh, it's a time traveler. He's wearing sunglasses.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they had sunglasses back then. It's not a new thing. Oh, look at that guy. He's wearing a t-shirt. Whoa!
A t-shirt. He has a baseball cap on.
Had baseball caps for a while. You know how old baseball is? It's old.
How old is it?
It's very old.
Tell me how old.
Let me see. It's been a long time. It was invented in 1839. So of course,
Dang.
So baseball caps would have been around at that time. Nah, you don't think so?
Nah.
Okay.
They had paper caps, like the newspaper.
Yeah, would they wear those newspaper hats?
Just kidding. Paper boats.
Paper boat hats.
Just kidding.
Okay.
Kidding.
If you want more cases that take place in like dinosaur times, tune in.
He's got you covered.
Yeah. I was thinking about like covering the murder of Cain and Abel, but it got too religious-y, and I didn't want to do that. Because it's considered to be the first
No pun intended, but still, like...
What?
Cain and Abel.
Yeah, that's a bit too far back.
Yeah, that is.
So, yeah, we'll tune in next week. We'll have more true crimes that take place in prehistoric times. A dinosaur killed another dinosaur. The meteor murdering all the dinosaurs. That's the
There
next
you go.
case.
That's another one. That's another crime.
The meteor is under arrest.
Murderers. Murder meteors.
Meteor, you're under arrest.
Jesus.
You're going away for a long time. So yeah, I've been Nathaniel Avila.
And I've been Jessica Vega.
Mm-hmm. And we'll
It's been an
say
interesting week.
it was an interesting week, but we made it and we got
Yes,
through
we
it.
have.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to a Vision podcast, home of wacky talkies, The Kingdom, Evil Exists, and many more.